we are here talking to Roderick Sewell. Hello, Roderick.
Hello, hello.
Hello. It's so nice to see your face after all the emailing back and forth and watching you as you go around the world. You are a traveling man. Man, you're a traveling man. You're like everywhere. Um, I did a like a little fun fact search on the name Sewell, and I came up with two. Do you want to hear them?
Yes, please, actually.
Okay. So Sewell Bridge, Maryland is the nation's largest deaf community.
Mm,
I don't know if you've heard of that, but almost 80% of this community are deaf, which I thought was really cool.
wow.
And then Terry Sewell is the first black woman ever to serve in the Alabama Congressional 7th District. So the name is pretty cool. And, you know, the deaf community and having a first black woman to serve in the Alabama. You're going there soon, right?
Yeah, yep, Huntsville.
Yeah, you should look her up.
Okay. Terry, Terry cool.
Be like, we have something in common here.
So, very cool.
But is your last name Sewell or Jackson?
My last name is Sewell. My mother's maiden name is Jackson.
Ah, okay. So you took that as well.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
legally I'm Sewell, but I was
Okay.
raised by my mom and my mother's side, so to kind of pay homage to them, I made it Jackson as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Okay, great. Thank you so much for that. I am Laura Cathcart Robbins. This is the only one in the room, but I'm never the only one in this room because, as usual, my boyfriend, producer, and co host, Scott Slaughter, who I call Hun, is here as well.
Hi, honey.
Hey, Hun. So, like I said, Hun, how excited are we to be talking to Roderick, right?
Oh,
This
this
is
is
so
pretty cool.
cool.
I actually went for a swim just before the interview, and I was thinking about you because, yeah, I was just thinking
We
about
were
you being in
watching
the
that
pool.
last night.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Roderick is the first double above the knee amputee to compete in the Ironman World Championships.
wow.
And that's a really, really big deal. I didn't know how big of a deal. First of all, the Ironman is a really big deal. My trainer is trying to qualify for an Ironman now, and I thought it was like three different races weeks apart. I had no idea that you went from one to the next, which is just it's biking first, yeah?
It's swimming first and then biking.
Oh, swimming
Yeah,
first. And then biking and then a marathon.
and then a
Right.
marathon.
Well,
Gosh.
and like you can't even overlook the biking and the swim. The swim's like how is it 2.3, 2.6,
2.4 miles.
2.4 miles.
Wow.
The bike is 110, 120,
The bike is 112.
112
Yeah,
miles,
Yeah.
and then you do a
Yeah.
and a
marathon.
marathon, and that's
Yeah,
always
that's no.
that was my barrier was how do you run a marathon after this long day?
Yes.
Right?
I mean, so yeah, we're going to talk about that, but also being an above the knee amputee is different than being a below the knee amputee. And so this is another reason why it's really important to note that you as an above the knee amputee competed in the Ironman World Championships. Crazy. So, I mean, not crazy. Well, it kind of
Yeah,
is.
it's pretty
It's
crazy.
kind of crazy. Before we get into the interview, I want to shout out Chaz Allen for connecting us. He was a guest on the show. We loved having him on, and he's referred some really great people to us. And he actually, honestly, he sent me a list of people that he thought we might be interested in interviewing. And I came right back to him about you, and I'm like, I want him. I, and there were a couple other people that I didn't interview, and they were amazing, but I really wanted you. So I was so glad when you had time in your schedule and you said yes to us. So thank you for that.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, your story is incredible. We were watching No Legs, No Limit last night just to kind of get more familiar with your story and to see you. Because like I said, I hadn't really seen you in action. I just seen you on social media. And it's really good for those of you who haven't watched it yet. It's on YouTube. It's part of GameChangers.com. Is that right?
Game Change
And
Nation.
it's Game Change Nation. Thank you. And it's called No Legs, No Limits. But let's start with you being born. So before you were born, your mom is a single mom. Is that right? At that point, she's pregnant and single.
Right around they were separating around the time that I was born. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And Did she have any idea when she was carrying you that you were missing your tibia?
Not at all. My mom, she had gone through before she had me. She had 6 miscarriages. Um,
Oh,
yeah, so she had heard about this medicine that would help if she took to stop these miscarriages. And one of the side effects was your child may come up with a disability. Um, so she had no idea even going into it. She had to have an emergency C-section. Um,
mm,
and I think that's when she was told after, I was finally out. Um, they told her that my everything was healthy, but my limbs from my knee down were not fully developed, and it
right,
was really just my tibia, um, my tibial bone on both legs was just completely missing, just gone, and that's a lot of your support. Um,
what is the tibia bone?
the tibia bone is like the shin bone,
Okay,
that bigger bone in the front where, yeah, if I don't have that, there's no stability. Um, and with that being gone, my feet were, like I said, they were twisted. There was nothing really keeping them together. Um,
mm,
so it was a bittersweet because my mom did get her child, but now she has a whole nother obstacle to deal with. You know,
right. So she's like newly separated from your dad. She has the baby she's been trying for the seventh time. You're the seventh one,
Mhm.
right? And then there is this kind of plot twist that you are now missing your tibia, and she has a decision to make,
Right.
right? So can you tell me about that decision?
Yeah, and that you just hit it all on the head. It's just she was going through so much, and then on top of that, just mentally, it was a wear and tear on her. Um, So going into this, she doesn't know what to do for a child. She's thinking, I'm gonna have to put him in a wheelchair. And she was told by a few doctors that this is the only option we're gonna have for your child is to get him in a chair and get him comfortable. Um, until she kept going and asking for other opinions, and she met two doctors that recommended amputation, and one of them she felt
Mm-hmm.
comfortable with. And this one said that pretty much this is the best option I can think of for your son, where if you do this now, he can grow up on prosthetics and he'll benefit from learning and living on prosthetics versus down the line where I could have asked for an amputation. So it was just a lot of weight on my mom's shoulders when it came to what do I do? Do I amputate and let him be upset with me? Or do I wait and, he's 18, he's going to do the same thing he would have did when he was little if he had the chance.
Right.
Um,
I mean, it feels like an impossible decision um, to make because she would have to predict
right.
how you would feel and how you would be impacted by either decision.
Hmm.
Um, your mom in No Legs, No Limits is awesome. I just love her. She's beautiful. She is full, like vital, like
Yeah.
full of life. You could just tell that she's a woman who's had to make these tough decisions. And she's so confident and so loving toward you, which I hope everybody checks it out because it's really nice to see her after reading about her. So she makes the decision to kind of have faith in this process of amputation for you, right? And she goes with the one that the doctor, the surgeon that she trusted.
Hmm. I can't remember his name at the moment, but we were at Kaiser Permanente in San Diego, um, the hospital I was born at, and yeah, it was with that comfort. He it was the one thing my mom had was an imagination. She's a huge Star Trek fan. So once
Ah,
once she saw my prosthetics and she knew she had her own understanding of how much society has changed in her lifetime. And so she
yeah.
saw like, okay, my son's not going to be walking on a peg leg. He's going to walk on this bionic metal leg, or not even bionic, just
Yes.
mechanical material.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she knew it would progress forward. So we just need to get him comfortable now and these beginner legs. Um, so it was that little bit of hope, that little bit of imagination, that little bit of um, the possible was enough for her to
Mm.
be like, okay, I know what life he's going to live if he's in a wheelchair. I don't necessarily know what life he's going to have as an amputee. Um, but if the doctor is telling me that it could help him, just to be up and maneuvering that way, or if it's a possibility for him, then I'm gonna take that option. Uh,
She chose the possibility.
yeah, she chose the possibility, and I
Yeah.
was amputated a year and a half. My first prosthetics I got when I was 2.5, maybe 3, and I hated them.
You
I
did?
hated them completely because I had found my own way at this point. Um, I like to grab. I don't know if you remember those old school multicolored Tupperware cups that all came in like the
Mm-hmm.
same style, same.
Yeah.
They fit my leg perfectly. I just had this kind of cone shape of a limb after my amputation. Um, and so I was just sliding my leg in there, and they were sturdy enough where I could run around outside and inside, and
What?
yeah, and they were like lock onto my leg like a shoe. So that was my
Wow.
prosthetic for a long time.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so that wasn't in what I watched last night. I remember her talking about how people wanted to cater to you.
Mm,
And I think this is before your prosthetics,
mm,
right? So you were like moving around even as like a
mm,
baby, and she wouldn't let like her mom and her nieces or whoever else bring you stuff
right.
because she wanted you to figure out. It felt very in the movie Ray.
Hmm.
Do you remember that
Absolutely.
when the mom when he's going blind and then she won't help him find? She's like, "I'll help you once. The first time, the second time I'll like give you some guidance. The third time you're on your own."
Hmm.
And so he has to figure it out. It felt like that tough love.
That's
Um,
another one her and
yeah.
I saw in theater, and I didn't realize how much it hit home for her when it came to giving her son, who has a disability, everything he needs.
Yes.
But yeah, prime example. It hurts. There was a lot of moments and that mom where she saw her son, Ray had failed and he's screaming for her, and she immediately wanted to go run to him. I can visually remember when my mom would want to cater to me or when she was in tears, because she had to hold back. She couldn't.
Mm.
Um, and my first memory was when I put on my prosthetics. Once I got them, they were very multicolored, but just uncomfortable and a very, very just uncomfortable. And I remember being in tears because I didn't want to wear them. And my mom was sitting on the bed staring at me, just in tears the whole time because she had just told me that I have to put these on. I have to get used to them. This is what I'm going to wear when I go to school. This is what I'm going to wear, and she took a chance. She's not expressing that part. So she's really just sitting there like, come on, it's up to you. You're going to have to figure this out. Um, and eventually it got more comfortable. Day by day, we took it slow.
Well, and you couldn't have stayed in the Tupperware cups
No.
for very long because you would have gotten bigger and bigger. And can you talk a little bit about the sacrifice she made in order to get you those prosthetics?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, like I said, my mom had separated from my dad. Now, single mother, having her child who she thought she was having a perfectly healthy baby, healthy in some aspects, but now came out with this disability. And she just had a lot on her plate. So she was working for the Navy and she had been working there for about 20 years, making a decent income and had decent insurance. But her insurance didn't necessarily qualify for helping me. Um, she had insurance that would help her and her child, but what I needed, her insurance wouldn't supply. I needed a specific durable medical equipment, and that was not covered in her insurance. So the best thing she could think of was quit her 20 plus year um, job and apply for Medicaid and
Mm.
pretty much just live on unemployment, and knowing that with that scenario, with Medicaid, I can get my durable medical equipment and then get the prosthetics that I need. Um,
Right.
so a
Right.
lot of
Yeah.
navigating, you know.
Well, first of all, it breaks my heart that she had to strategize like that in order to like to give up her job so that she could get you what you needed in order to be because she had made this decision, right?
Right.
That you were going to have prosthetics. So you had to have the prosthetics because you weren't just going to be wheelchair bound after she had done all that. And then to have to because the thing um that you've said in a few of your interviews is that it as you grow you need different prosthetics, right? You have to be fit with different like obviously, but I didn't think about that. I'm just thinking you got prosthetics and probably there's one set for childhood and another set for teenage
Mm.
years, but it's more than that, isn't it?
it's you have a very strong relationship with your prosthetist, the same you would have with your doctor if you're having regular visits. I you know I, Getting molded and casted and making the prosthetic perfect to your limb, um, that's one part of it, and then the labor of are you balanced when you walk? Do you feel balanced?
Yeah.
And then doing all this with a child, is already hard. It's hard enough with an adult. Um,
Sure.
so it was yeah, it was a lot of challenges just getting the legs and then everything that came with it. It wasn't a I don't think she knew exactly. Nobody told her what she was going to be going through with this process.
Yeah. How, in all the pictures that I saw of you from very early on, you're smiling. Like, were you a happy kid?
Absolutely. Yeah. I
Yeah.
definitely was. Um, I have photos of me in Alabama when I first moved there. I left California to Alabama and I got introduced to down south cooking and I got really big.
Mm.
It got really, really big. And even in these photos, I was still smiling. I was always this happy kid. Um, and I think it's because of my scenario and the things that brought me light and brought me joy. I held them in mind. Um, like I'm a big family man. Even as a child, I was always wanted to be around my cousins, my sisters, um, whoever. I wanted to be around my family, and because they weren't in the situation that I was in, that made me happy. So it was my mom and
Mm.
I, and that was my road dog, my partner. But I didn't want anybody else from my family dealing with what I was dealing with. So knowing that
Wow.
they were somewhere else, not even considering that they might be having their own troubles, you know, but just knowing that they weren't here in these shelters or here in these environments where my mom and I are struggling because she gave up everything she you know owned so I can walk and that we can get what I need um just to live.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing that up too, because I was going to talk about that. The giving up her job, living on unemployment, resulted in you guys not being able to live at home anymore and living in shelters. That was in San Diego, right?
Mhm.
Um, and so, for anyone who's ever visited a shelter or lived in a shelter or been on the streets, been unhoused, uh, you don't always get to choose where you stay, and you don't always get to choose where, sometimes shelters have individual units.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's communal where you're sleeping next to other people. Um, and it's less than ideal
Mhm.
for anybody, but certainly for a woman and a child, a single mom and her child. Can you tell me what you remember about those years?
Um,
What stands out to you?
I remember seeing my mom on the decline, uh, just from when we had our house and our car, and seeing that she was coming home a little bit more just down and not knowing why. And then seeing the decline of the car is now gone, the house is now gone. We're going to an apartment. Um, I could see the toll on her, but I didn't understand. You know, I thought it was me, um,
Mm,
or like me as in something I was doing.
right.
Um, And so as time went on, my mom, it was never me. She expressed like she loved me and um she got very serious and would sit me down and talk like this is where we're going to live. This is where we're going to be. Um this is only temporary and that would be my kind of saving grace. We're not staying here forever. This is only for now until we can get situated, but I need you to work with me. And so that was my thing. Like, how do I help? What can I do? And she was like, okay, this is the thing. I'm going to go to work. I'm going to go get some money so we can be set up, squared away. And then she's like, oh, you're going to go to school and you're going to get A's. And I'm sitting
Yeah.
there like, I've been doing this. Like, this is not me helping our scenario, but it still gave me something of she's going to go work. I'm going to go do what I got to do and we're going to come together. Um,
Well, she gave you
yeah,
purpose.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. And you were in shelters until you were around 12? Is
Yeah,
that right?
it was it started around 8 years old, and um yeah, at this time I was going to a elementary school, public school. I got moved to a private school that was from 8 to 6. So it really worked in my mom's favor. She can go to work all day. She'll come pick me up, and then we'll go straight to the shelter.
Mm.
And then we'll be up early to do it again. But my day was going to be spent at school, so it wasn't too much to worry about. Um,
Yeah.
and I think once that happened, once that was our routine, the shelters were just somewhere to lay our heads. We would have to be up at 5 a.m. sometimes to get out because they're using the shelter for other events throughout the day. And like you said, we stayed in at least three in San Diego before we moved to Alabama, and one of them was just cots spread out through this almost gymnasium. It looks like, and that was the one I didn't like at all. It was we had to get up early and shower before anybody got in there. The water was cold.
Oh.
It's not necessarily the cleanest, so I can't. I have to put a chair in the shower with me. I can't stand up there. Um, yeah, that one wasn't necessarily fun. And you're sleeping amongst people. It was a lot of women and children, but there were a lot of people who, um, yeah, were mentally ill or
Yes.
just really struggling. Um,
Yeah.
and then we got moved to a mother and children's shelter, which we had our own curtained
Oh,
room. So we had like two cots in this curtained
nice.
area. And
Yeah.
to me, it was the Hilton. it was,
Right.
it was
Right.
a complete
Yes.
upgrade because now we have our own privacy, and I have kids who I can be friends with. They're going through the same thing, and it's funny. I was talking to a friend of mine about this. Like even looking back, those kids that were in there, you would think a hard time would make a kid like mad or want to be just lash out, But all those kids were really nice. All of them were really nice.
Mm.
Um,
That's
all of
so
them
cool.
just seem. I had more of a good relationship with some of these kids than the kids at my own public school. Who people are bullying, people are picking. But because we're all in this situation, there's none of that.
Right.
Um, so that
I
was
was. I was.
sorry.
Yeah. No. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna. That was kind of a thankfully a saving grace. I couldn't
Yes.
be in the other shelter.
I totally felt that relief when you told me that you had a place with a curtain and two cots
Mhm.
and you guys had some privacy. Scott and I used to do a lot of work with this family shelter, and like when they built the new model, it was the idea was that everybody had a door to close. Like no matter how small the room was, because it was bunk beds,
Mhm.
and it might not be very wide, but you had a door to close because that's really important, for especially for a family when you're talking about kids and a mom and or a dad or whatever. But I was going to ask you, this is the Only One in the Room podcast. Did you feel more like the only one in the room at school because you were living in a shelter or because you were wearing prosthetics?
Mm. Uh, that's a good question. I think it was more so for, funny enough, like living in the shelter.
I
Um,
thought you were going to say that.
yeah, because at that time, my prosthetics had become almost normal. So at school, I was known as the kid with metal legs.
Right.
Um, so at once that the time went by to kind of let that settle. And for me, it wasn't even a thought. I was born and amputated before it. Once I started walking, my legs were gone. My first memories are of my legs being amputated. Um, so it was never strange to me. But then this thing, and that's like most people, this thing that I'm dealing with that nobody sees is the one that's really wearing on me.
Yeah.
Um, and it took me later through life to understand the difference of people see my struggles and they see my prosthetics and they associate it with my struggles because they can visually see it. While I'm over here, that's the last thing that I think about. I just wake up and put my legs on like it was me putting on my shoes. Um,
Ah.
so it's perspective, I think, of hardships and what we consider to be um, truly difficult.
Mm. Thank you for that. I thought you were going to say something like that. I didn't know that you would get quite that deep, but I think that's such a good lesson for people who want to make assumptions about what the struggle might be, and to let people come to them and let them know what the struggles are, instead of assuming that this person is struggling and needs help because it looks like a disability of some kind or whatever kind it is. I want to talk now about swimming, because I think, because you were such an athletic kid, my goodness. You were like playing hockey, you were biking, you were swimming. Was swimming last for you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So were you afraid of the water?
I was terrified. I was terrified of swimming. All these sports, I didn't get involved until I was 8 or 9. With I got involved with adaptive sports and the Challenge Athletes Foundation. Um, excuse me. They CAF, we call them. They raise money for individuals with disabilities to just live a healthy lifestyle, just be active and mobile. Um, and they've been around for going on 30 years now. And at that time, I hadn't heard about them. They'd have been around for maybe, if I was 8 or 9 at that time, they were 7 or 8 years. And this is all in San Diego. And once I found out about CAF and I learned about hand cycling and wheelchair basketball, wheelchair hockey, we played wheelchair rugby, and just trying all these different sports, I felt home. I felt like this is for me. This is something I want to do now. And yeah, so just like most kids, like you would do, just put them in every sport and see what they like. But all of them came, and then swimming came, and it was like, I don't know, I'd rather go be in a wheelchair. But we knew I had to be safe. I had to be comfortable near the water. I had my friend, his name's Rudy Garcia Tolson. He was actually the first double above knee amputee to attempt the Ironman World Championships. And he had just missed the cutoff by 15 minutes. Came back 5 weeks later and did the Ironman Arizona. And so he became the first double above knee amputee to complete an Ironman. And then now the task was who's going to finish the Ironman World Championships. And that's where his friend came in. So seeing him swim as a double above knee amputee, it really broke that stereotype of, or just that, I guess, I don't know where I got that idea from, my own understanding of, because I don't have legs, I'm not going to be able to swim. I guess because I was so used to seeing people with legs swim that I thought that. So seeing him do that, it completely debunked everything. And okay, now I got to go get lessons and overcome this fear. I got lessons from my coach, his name Alan Boissard. Not only did he teach me how to swim, but he became my coach throughout my collegiate and Paralympic career. And he just made me feel comfortable, made me get really comfortable with just play in the water first, see if you enjoy it, get comfortable with it first. And his way of teaching me is kind of how I approach any sport, anything I do. Is anytime I go swim, anytime I get on my bike, do it to see if you love it first and enjoy it first, and then see if you want to take it to the next level. But if you can't love it just as it is, then it's not worth it.
So you have fun doing all these things.
Yeah.
These are fun for you.
Absolutely.
That's so cool. You speak so warmly of Alan on your site, in No Legs, No Limits. You see that there's a relationship that is really personal. It's not just like, oh, I coached this guy this one time. It's like there's real care there between the two of you. It's really nice to see. So your kind of inspiration / frenemy in the competition, can you talk a little bit more about, it was the 2014 U.S. para swimming team, is that right, at the Pan Pacific Olympic Championships? You won, I'm going to spoil it now, but you won bronze and gold. And that, so talk about your motivation for that and the training that you did when you didn't qualify from the time that you came back and won that.
So, to give like a quick summary of it, I didn't commit to Paralympic swimming until 2008. 2008, I was
Mm.
16, and I got a grant from the Paralympic Academy, which is based out of the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs. I got a grant from them to go to the Beijing Paralympic Games, and I got to go watch the opening ceremonies as well as the first few weeks of events. I got to see my buddy Rudy. He was there. He had qualified for the USA team and swam the 200 IM. Got gold in his main event. And at that time, I was also playing wheelchair basketball, so I was going to all their tournaments. And seeing the whole scene and seeing how everything went, seeing Rudy up there get his medal, um, made me decide, okay, I want to swim. I think swimming's for me. Basketball is fun, but I can see myself taking this further with swimming. Well, basketball, I could just see myself having a good time. Um, and so I made that decision at 16. I had one more year of wheelchair basketball in high school, so I finished that out, and I decided to train on swimming and focus on that. With my goal being it was 2008, so it was 2012 Paralympics at that time. Um, Not realizing what it comes, what it entails, like training for the Olympics or the Paralympics is no joke. And I was 4 years in. I went to 2012 trials, very green, got beat in my main event, as expected, because these guys have been doing it since they were little. Um, and I'm like, okay, I'll train for 2016 now. 2016 comes, I'm to kind of transition. I was going to college in Alabama, moved to San Diego once I graduated in 2014, and then I had a year and a half to get ready for the 2016 games. Um, and I missed the cutoff time by 1 second in the 100-meter breaststroke.
Ah,
Yeah, yeah, and I was hurt by that. And then at the same time, I told myself, okay, I'm going to do 2020, and then if I don't make the team in 2020 for swimming, then I'm done. Um, and kind of just to backtrack a little bit on the importance of it. In 2014, when I made my first Pan Am team, it was kind of like the beginning level. You know, that national team was a stepping stone to the next national team that I wanted to join.
mm.
So I was excited, but I was like, okay, this is just a stepping stone because these are not the best. These are the guys that some of them are the best, some of them are not. The only time I'm going to get the best is at World Championships or at the Paralympics. Um, and so I was just like, just race with all you got. I got gold in the 100-meter breaststroke, and then I swam the 50 breaststroke during the relay, which we got bronze in that one. And I just thought to myself, this is going to start me and catapult me to the next thing, which, like I said, led to that disappointment at 2016.
Yes,
um,
yes.
but then I made my first national team, my first world's national team in 2017. I had moved to the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs. I was swimming 5,000 meters a day. Sometimes we would do doubles, so it was 10,000 meters a day. And it really got me prepared for that world-class stage. And I went there. Did I medal? I got bronze in the relay.
Okay.
But my main event, I came in seventh. So I'm just like, this is not a good look. This is it was good for where we were in that point in time, but in my mind, I'm like, by now I should be like top 5, and I still
Right.
wasn't there. Um, 2018 comes, I moved to New York, and I continue my training in New York because I'm also looking at this time I was 26 going on 27, and I'm focused on career now. I'm not necessarily just focused on swimming. Like I said, I went to college, and at that time, I had a choice between should I apply to the training center or should I go to college? And my family, first of all, myself, was not going to let me do anything else but go to college. Um,
Right.
so with that came, okay, now that I have this degree, I got my degree in public communications. One of the first in my family to graduate from university, and taking that and using that to now help build a career now. Um, whether it's as an entrepreneur working for myself doing public speaking or working with CAF as a CAF ambassador, and bringing more awareness for them and really trying to be that inspiration for this younger generation, be that inspiration for individuals who are new to this life, who had, some kind of disability, some kind of um, incident or accident happened, and now they're wondering what's next.
Mm-hmm.
So being that for these people, and whatever I didn't see at my time, making sure that they see.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, because I'm thinking, yes, motivational speaker, like because just your story, even without your presence, is motivational. But then to see you and the kind of joy you exude, especially when you're talking about the things you love doing, like that's really inspirational. Absolutely, as an ambassador for CAF, I can see that both those things happening, and they probably will both be things that you do because you talked about just this is all you knew growing up, so it didn't feel. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what I heard you say was that you didn't struggle with it because it was all you knew. You just put on your legs like someone puts on their shoes and you go. But if someone loses their legs, as an adult or later on in life, I can see the temptation to spiral downward. So someone like you could be such inspiration as like your life is not over. Here's what you can do. Yes, this will change. Yes, they'll be uncomfortable at first. It'll be difficult, to learn, or it might be because you don't know. Maybe for them it won't be, but for you it was a struggle to learn how to use them and to get comfortable in them. And then you were running, and then you were playing basketball, and then you were swimming and riding your bike. And I just love all of that for you. And I love that you're a young Black man, spreading this message with this smile on your face. And how much time do we have? I think we have about 10 minutes.
Okay.
Because I want to talk about the Ironman itself.
You do. You have about 11 minutes. 12
Okay. So can you break down the Ironman for us and then tell us what it takes to, like, what do you eat? You must eat all the time. If you're burning all those calories, right? It's got to be a lot. So it could just kind of take us through what it is and then take us through your day.
For sure. Yeah. So the Ironman is, one of the toughest endurance races we have. It's a 140-mile race, 2.4-mile swim, 112-mile bike ride, and then a 26.2-mile run. Yeah, it is crazy. It's crazy to think about. For me, it had never been a goal to compete at the Ironman. The only reason I took on this challenge was because of the history behind it. And this is 2019 now. My buddy had attempted it in 2009, my friend Rudy, and it kind of like it's been holding over our heads ever since. We haven't had Rudy had just missed a bike cutoff, and so we haven't had anybody on running blades yet on the running course. Not even getting to the course, so let alone finishing. So going into it, once I got the slot from the Ironman, it was an Ironman and CAF slot they have reserved for their athletes, and they saw my performance and they knew I could possibly finish. And once I got the offer, I told them if you let me do the swim and then bike a hand cycle, like you can see my bike over here, and then run on my running blades, then I'll do it. I'll do the Ironman, but I will not do it in a standard bike because that would just be too much pain on my lower back. I could never stand up to get any relief, and it'd just be a lot of wear and tear on my glutes and lower back. And then I could have done the push rim for the Ironman, which I could have easily pushed and relaxed for a couple seconds. But
wait, what is it?
the push rim is it's like the chairs that they use for running. So if you watch the New York City Marathon, they have their hand cycles out there, and then you'll see individuals who are kind of crouched down, and
yes,
those are racing chairs. So those are the running imitations, and just that's their style. I would not do well in those chairs. Individuals who have lived their lives in wheelchairs, they would. So
you're better with hand cycling.
I'm better with hand cycling for the bike, and then for the run, I just told them let me use my running legs. Even though usually it's if you're going to use a hand cycle, you're going to use a push rim. That's usually how it goes.
Right.
But since there's no real rule, and I just want to finish, I needed this the way it was. So Ironman agreed, and I knew I only had 3 months to train. Uh, I only had
Wow.
3 months to get ready. Um, the only thing I
I'm shaking my head. My mind is blown by that.
had
That's like a month for each event.
pretty much it
Yeah.
for for me, because I've been in New York, I had been doing a lot of running at the time. I had been running around Central Park, and my goal was to do a lap around Central Park. But by the time I got strong enough to do it, I it was comfortable. So once I did one lap, I was like, okay, now I know I can do this. I can go further. And with swimming, I was so used to it that biking was the only one that I was weakest at. Um, so I really just had 3 months to get strong in running and the bike, and specifically the bike because I didn't even own one at the time. So I accepted the grant without a bike. Uh, but thankfully, CAF is like where you're going as an athlete. We cannot let you go out here without a bike. For one, we need to get you everything you need to be ready. They got me my hand cycle, and I got obsessed. I would swim just for recovery, just do a little here and there. But I knew and my endurance was strong there, and I would run a lot more. I would build up from 6 miles to 12, and I think the longest I ran was 18 before the Ironman. Um, but just overtrain on the bike. It would be 3 days a week, at least an hour, and then 3 days a week would turn to 2 hours, and then the next week would be maybe 2 to 3 hours, um, and slowly just building that way to the point where I got obsessed with my bike. Um, and then now Ironman race day comes. I tell people my diet was very much on a vegetarian vegan. Um,
Really?
it at times there was times where I knew training for this that I would be so sore, I would be so inflamed that the only way I could fix it is if I ate a diet that would attack it directly,
Yes.
and so I was eating heavy on greens. I was addicted to sweet green. I was going there all the time, and it was one of the just strange. Like I had to look at myself in the mirror. Like, when did you become addicted to this place? Like, just to get these salads. But huge. I don't know what it was. I would in the morning have a whole bunch of carbs. I would do pancakes, French toast, fruit, everything. Um, and then I would do greens for lunch. I would do snacks throughout the day as well, and I always kept food on me. Um, and in the evening, I would do some type of heavy green. Um, and that's why I didn't call myself vegetarian or vegan. Every once in a while, I would go get those chicken burritos from the
There
taco
you
truck
go.
down the street from my house. So, because like you said, I was burning so much. When I was swimming at the training
Yeah.
center, I was burning, according to my Whoop, it was saying like 5,000, 6,000 calories. The days that we would have doubles, and trying to,
Mm.
um, or I'm sorry, it was 1,700 calories, and then trying to replenish it, I think was what I was eating was like five or
Right.
six. Yeah,
Right.
sorry, I had the numbers wrong.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and now the Ironman I'm even more so drained. I'm like burning through everything I have. So yeah, always some kind of protein bar or something on me. But my day always started with a huge breakfast and then snacks, a heavy salad, snacks, and then some type of heavy meal.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is surprising to me, that because I would have thought it would be carbs throughout, but you start with carbs, so that's your base fuel,
hmm
and then you replenish with greens and stuff that's kind of anti-inflammatory,
hmm
right?
As well as
Yeah.
a snack here and there to kind of curb any kind of hunger and give me whatever I
Sure.
need.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Where was the Ironman?
So it was in Hawaii, Kona on the Big Island.
Nice.
Um,
Nice.
so I got to, and one of the benefits of doing this race and getting a grant from Ironman, they asked me, "What do you need for this race?" I told them, if you want the best cinematography, you want to invite my mom out, fly her out to Hawaii. Yeah.
Oh.
So, they got her a quick little, vacation. She had her first massage. I didn't know that that was her first time having a massage.
Oh, that's
Um,
so
and
nice.
she had a great trip, but she didn't know why we were there. She had no idea. She was so used to the CAF events that
Yes.
being at this big event where she's hearing these horror stories, she's now worried about her kid. But the whole idea was, you made these sacrifices for me. You've done everything for me. Now I want to show you the man that I become.
Mm.
So she was there seeing me come in through all my transitions. The swim transition, nobody's really worried about doing open water. Um, I was used to that, and I was swimming alone because we had waves, and so I was really by myself most of the time. I got out, and on the bike, I see her. She cheered me on as I go off, and everybody's nervous. Everybody's biting their nails because this is the part where most of our athletes were not making it. Um, and after 112 miles and 20 plus mile winds and throwing up twice and
Mm.
accidents, people flipping, people backing out of the race. The wind, it was a crazy year. It was a hectic year. Um, I eventually came into the finish and after the bike course, and then I saw my mom there. I'm putting my running legs on, and now this is it. This is what we came here for, and all I have to do is finish the run. I came in with 30 minutes to spare, so I'm putting my legs on and kind of cooling down. And the run is the first 10, 11 miles, you're cheered on by the whole city that's lined up along the course. So you have that energy to go. And then mile 11 and 12 hit and just quiet. You see all these people just running and just panting and everybody's looking miserable. And you see the people that are coming back that are finishing and you see a whole group of people still going out. And as you see the sun going down and you remember I remember starting my swim when the sun was coming up. So to see it going down now at this point, um, and I'm watching it the whole time as it goes down. And I get to the airport and it's dark. I have like 6 miles left and I just hit a wall. I couldn't do it
Mm.
anymore. So from there, I put my head down. I felt something come over me telling me that people are watching, your family's watching, and this is bigger than you. So you need to keep going. And from there, I came into the finish line and saw my mom crying, and um, yeah, just it's nice to see where we came from and look back at where we were. You
Okay, I'm crying
know.
because that is such a beautiful story.
Thank you,
I
thank you.
can't believe your mom was there with you. I didn't know that. That's and I mean the whole thing is amazing. So to be clear, these were not para Olympians or para athletes. You were running with people who were not para athletes or athletes necessarily with any disability.
Right,
This was just an Ironman,
right,
and you qualified based on who you are with your disability, right? So that they'll make that accommodation. But once those accommodations were made, you were competing with everybody else.
everybody's together at that point. Yep, yep.
And I know that airport. I
And
know
you know,
Kona. I do. I do. I know there's one road that
yes,
goes around
yeah,
the whole island.
that one. Yep.
Oh, I'm never going to see it again without thinking about you running past it and hitting a wall and having 6 miles to go. My goodness. Um, that's an incredible story.
Thank you.
That's an incredible story. Eh, did you, are you writing a book? Do
I
you have a
am.
book?
I am. Thanks. Cheers to Chaz Allen.
To Chaz,
He
yes.
Yeah.
Shout out to him again.
he helped me form my proposal. I sent the proposal out to Hachette, and I ended up getting a book deal. Yeah, from that.
Incredible,
Mhm.
incredible. It's with Simon and Schuster.
No, no, that was who I was
Oh,
originally going to. Is Hachette.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. This is fantastic. It's so cinematic already. I mean, the book people are going to fly through and then they're going to want to see the movie or the series or whatever it is. So I will be one of them, voraciously reading it and then watching whatever comes out of it. Incredible. The other thing that I wanted to just touch on quickly was that thing that those don'ts, like you can't run an Ironman if you're a double amputee. Black people don't swim. Like all this kind of negativity that came at you. Did you face all of that with a smile and decide to just continue on your way anyway, or did any of it daunt you?
I think because I definitely took it on with a smile, and I think because I naturally, and I thank my mom for this. I had that same imagination. I had that same just drive to figure it out and kind of finesse it along the way. Um, yeah, I think I always kind of, because people viewed me a certain way, and I learned that people viewed me a certain way, I knew it was up to me and what I
Yes.
perceived and what I saw. And if I thought I
Wow.
couldn't do it, then I wouldn't be able to do it. But if I thought I could do it, then there shouldn't be anything in my way.
Yeah. And I love that whatever you were doing, you were going to have fun at.
Hmm.
And I think that's so cool that you got to do that, that you get to do that,
Absolutely.
that you get to go out there and compete and have fun and then to craft this career out of the things that you have fun at, that you've gotten great at, like you're at the top of your game at. It's just so cool. I could talk to you for hours, but our time is up. So I'm gonna have to say goodbye. Tell me where people can find you. Tell folks where they can find you.
For sure. My Facebook is Roderick Sewell Jackson. My Instagram is RSEWELL92. And then my website is www.rodericksewell.com.
That's right. I've been on all of those,
Okay.
and I can confirm that is all correct, and they exist. And your Instagram is fascinating. It's where I found a lot of the information on you. I actually haven't gone into your Facebook yet, but I love your Instagram, and your site is beautiful too. So, please check him out there, and any links that you want to be in the show notes, we'll put in so people can check out CAF or your site or whatever it is. So it'll be all accessible. Okay.
Definitely, just to add that last part in, challengeathletes.org.
Challengeathletes.org. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't know where you would be if it weren't for them. So, yes, please check them out, support whatever it takes, and to make sure that there are more success stories like you, because you were given a chance. Absolutely. And you took it in a big way. Mm-hmm. Amazing. Thank you, Roderick, so much. Thank you for coming on. I'm so glad we were able to catch you.
Yes, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Roderick.
Hi, I'm Roderick Sewell, and I'm the only double above knee amputee to complete the Ironman World Championships.